improve your mental capabilities. 29,200. That's the number of days in your life, that is, if you live to the age of 80. If you sleep for 8 hours a day for 80 years, that amounts to 9,733 days. In other words, sleep makes up a third of your life. If you work for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for an average period of 45 years, that amounts to 3,900 days, or 13% of your life. But before you can go to work, you often have to attend school. Because some students attend college and others don't, let's assume an average period of 15 years spent in school. If you attend school for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 44 weeks out of the year, that amounts to 1,100 days, or 4% of your life. If we add up these percentages, that amounts to roughly 50% of your life. So half of your life is accounted for by sleep and work. Knowing this information may bother you, or it may excite you. If it does bother you, allow me to try and change your perspective. Potentially, if we are smart about the decisions we make with respect to sleep and work, we can get half of our life put together. So let's start in the land of dreams. The World Health Organization and the National Sleep Foundation recommend that individuals get 8 hours of sleep each night. But 2/3 of adults in developed nations get less than this. In other words, 66% of adults are living in a perpetual state of drowsiness. 40% of the population are morning people, also known as larks. They have a natural tendency to wake up early and sleep early. They feel the most energized early in the morning and feel sleepy early at night. 30% of people are evening people, also known as owls. They have a natural tendency to wake up late and stay up late. They feel energized and sleepy later in the day than larks. The remaining 30% fall somewhere in between these two extremes. Society has a bias for larks, which leaves owls at a constant disadvantage. Owls are forced to wake up earlier than they naturally desire and fall asleep later than they should. As a result, they're always sleeping less than required and operating in a more drowsy state. If you can build a life that is in harmony with your natural circadian rhythms, you'll be better off than those who don't. But there's also a responsibility on society and employers to make environments that are better suited for night owls. That issue aside, how can we get the best sleep each night? Here are a few of my favorite tips from Medline Plus. Try to sleep at the same time and get up at the same time each day, even on the weekends. This will help keep your body in a consistent sleep-wake rhythm and improve your sleep quality. Avoid napping after 3 p.m. Naps make it harder to fall asleep at night. Try to exercise for at least 30 minutes a day, but not too close to bedtime. Try to get some sunlight during the day so that your sleep cycle is accurately calibrated. Try to get sunlight as soon as you wake up if possible. Conversely, try to dim the lights and avoid screen time before bed. Lastly, leave time to unwind before bed at the end of the day. Create a nighttime ritual that allows you to progressively get more relaxed before falling asleep. Now that we've discussed sleep, let's move on to the next big part of life, work. According to a poll conducted by Gallup, 85% of people don't feel engaged at work. In America, this number is a little bit better at 70%. In other words, a lot of people are wasting their time and potential. Imagine how much better the world would be if everyone felt engaged at work. What if everyone is present and excited when they wake up for work each day? What could we accomplish as a species? I know it sounds like I'm asking a lot, but I think getting people to feel engaged is simpler than you might think, and it doesn't require that everyone become a musician, an athlete, or a movie star. According to the widely cited self-determination theory, or SDT, the answer to why some people love their work more than others is intrinsic motivation. Intrinsically motivated activities are things that we do because they're enjoyable, like listening to music, watching a movie, or talking with a friend. The process itself is enjoyable. We don't need a reward for doing it. Now for the real question. Can we have jobs that are intrinsically motivating? According to SDT, a job needs to be interesting, provide the right amount of challenge and novelty, and meet 3 psychological needs to produce and maintain intrinsic motivation: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy is when you feel like you have personal control over what you do, when you do it, and how you do it. In other words, you feel in control over your work and not like a slave to another. You feel competence when you can get better at what you do and that you're responsible for the outcomes of your actions. And lastly, relatedness occurs when you feel a connection to the people you work with. You care about them and they care about you. In his book Drive, Daniel H. Pink brings up another element important for career satisfaction, which I think is worth touching on: purpose. A person's purpose is a goal much larger than themselves that they are working towards. According to Pink, studies done at the University of Rochester found that students who had set and achieved purpose-driven goals were happier than students who had set and achieved external goals such as making a certain amount of money. As you may have noticed, a satisfying career was not necessarily linked to passion, money, fame, or status. Instead, it was linked to the psychological needs of autonomy, competence, relatedness, and purpose. So how do you go about acquiring these psychological needs? What can you do as an individual to achieve them? In his book, So Good They Can't Ignore You, Cal Newport lays out a straightforward strategy. Build up your skills in an area. When the skills you have are low in supply, but high in demand, you've become more valuable. In other words, you are highly competent. When you are highly competent and valuable, you have leverage with respect to your work. You have more choice than your employers. You can use this leverage to be more selective about your own hours, your own teams, and which companies you work for. As a result, you'll have more control over your autonomy, relatedness, and the purpose you work towards. To summarize, become competent at an in-demand skill and use that competence as leverage to get yourself more autonomy, relatedness, and purpose, as these are the things that make for a fulfilling career. As you become competent at an in-demand skill, the money will, of course, follow as a byproduct of your valuable nature. Now that we've discussed sleep and work, we've essentially covered 50% of the average life. But there's one more big aspect that I want to look at. As of 2018, there are approximately 7.6 billion other humans you could get to know. Of these 7.6 billion, you'll meet tens of thousands. Of these thousands, there will be, at any one time, roughly 1,500 whose names and faces you could recognize. Of these 1,500, there will be 150 who you have a fairly good reciprocal relationship with. These people will make up your core social group, and this number is referred to as Dunbar's number. Of these 150, there will be roughly 5 who you are really close to and whom you interact with almost daily. The people in all of these groups will likely fluctuate throughout your life, and, based on data presented in the atlas, it might fluctuate as follows. Early in your life, most of your time will be spent with friends and immediate family. As you transition into adulthood, the amount of time you spend with friends and family declines quite a bit, and most of your time is spent with your coworkers, your kids, and your partner. And as you enter old age, most of your time is spent with your partner or alone. There are so many ways to look at and interpret this data. I encourage you to take a look at the original graphs linked in the description and decide what it all means to you. But I'll share some insights that I have pulled out from the data. My first insight is that this data is descriptive, not prescriptive. It's a representation of how things are, but not how they should be. While the average person does spend most of their time with their family from the ages of 15 to 30, there isn't any reason I couldn't spend more. For example, this data might be a good indicator that I should plan annual family vacations and get-togethers so that I ensure that I'm spending as much quality time with my family as possible. It's so easy to get caught up in the everyday problems and ambitions of our lives that we can go years without spending quality time with the people close to us. And before you know it, they could be gone. My second insight is that picking good coworkers and a good partner are among the most important decisions we can make in a life. These are the people who most of us will spend the greatest amount of time with. And my final insight is that it's important to make peace with yourself. Most of your life will be spent alone, especially in the final years. So it's important to learn how to live with yourself, know yourself, and live true to yourself so that you can be comfortable or even happy in your own mind. These are just some of the insights that I have pulled from the data, but I'd be interested in hearing what you got out of it in the comments. If you sleep well, put some thought into your career, wisely choose the people around you, and spend time with your loved ones, I think you'll come to the end of life pretty satisfied. So that's the mathematics of your life, or at least half of it. Mathematics has the power to give us a new perspective on life. That's why I love brushing up on my mathematical skills on Brilliant.org. Brilliant.org is a math and science problem-solving website that helps you see the world with a more scientific perspective. They have several fascinating courses that you can take, such as probability, astronomy, the fundamentals of mathematics and computer science, physics of the everyday, logic, and much more. You can learn to see everyday activities with a more mathematical mindset, such as with the course The Math of Poker, where you learn the probabilities and strategies of the game. Just go to www.brilliant.org/freedomandthought or click the link in the description below and you can sign up for free. As a bonus for those who are ready to push themselves further, the first 200 people will be hooked up with 20% off the annual subscription. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.